great track, and it was a great start for Fitzy and his Nissan as he led briefly, then dropped to second behind the yellow Triumph of another racing veteran, Ken SLAGLE. Any driver racing at Watkins Glen feels the weight of the track's rich 35-year history and knows he is racing literally in the wheel tracks of the legends of the sport. Fitzy on this day was flying, but so was SLAGLE, until the pace got to his car. SLAGLE's breakdown came so close to the end of the race that Fitzy barely had time to say on was his old adversary, Ken SLAGLE, again driving his Triumph.
We came down, and I said, now, because Ken got a little run on him. The turbo just came on like gangbusters, and we got a run on him. So as we came into turn one, I moved over to the right so nobody like Jerry Hansen wouldn't come under me. So once I started up the
track, no grip for the tires. Fitzy, then car after car behind him, shot off the road into the guardrail. Hansen, SLAGLE, a dozen drivers crashed. Miraculously, none were seriously hurt. The officials stopped the race. When this happens, the rules stipulate that the winner becomes the man who was leading as the last lap began. Fittingly, Jim Fitzgerald was declared.
Jim Fitzgerald, who led the first 11 laps over his old pal Jerry Hansen in the red Pontiac. Then a freak rainstorm hit just one corner, turn 6.
Start dead last. He'd been in this position on other occasions, though. Rival, Ken SLAGLE, in the yellow car there on the right, had pole position. At the first turn, the championship was whipping his car around the track with a vengeance, making up lost ground in big chunks. By mid-race, he had caught Paul, and here he tries to pass. Paul fought back and edged ahead. But momentum was with SLAGLE, and it was just a matter of time before he tried again. Going up the backstretch, he seemed content to follow Paul, and as the two barreled down the main straight, SLAGLE was still tucked in behind the Datsun. Then suddenly swooped out in a daring attempt to pass just as they braked for the first turn. And that was it. Ken SLAGLE, it was obvious, was someone Paul would have to watch very... For Ken SLAGLE, qualifying became a nightmare. SLAGLE was able to defeat Paul Newman at Lime Rock, but now, in practice, he suffers this engine blow-up. Ken is his own chief mechanic, and he had to work all night to install the new engine. As a result, he is physically exhausted as qualifying begins. The quick reflexes that a driver relies on when he pushes his car to the limit aren't there for SLAGLE. He'll have to be cautious, knowing all the while that if he's too cautious and winds up with a bad qualifying time, he'll face a real uphill battle in the race. Pace lap, it was obvious that Paul's sixth-place starting position would pose an enormous. Both men were known to be chargers who were determined to capitalize on their hard-won starting position by bolting into an early lead. Baker and Blackburn neck and neck, and Blackburn has the lead. Fitzgerald's third, Ken SLAGLE is fourth. Newman's back in fifth. Here's Blackburn. Look at that! Baker's taking the lead, but what a move! He just drove over the inside of the turn. And Fitzgerald's getting Blackburn too. For the first time, it's Baker and the Jaguar, Fitzgerald and Blackburn and Datsun. Fitzgerald's pressing Baker. He's pulling abreast of him. Baker and Fitzgerald neck and neck. Who will break first? Fitzgerald! Baker's taken out. No! Baker's overshot the... Now it's Fitzgerald in the lead. That makes 3 leaders in the half lap since the race began. The Jaguar is pulling out. Look at that power. What a burst of acceleration. When the rules were made for this class, and the Jaguar was included, many experts felt that it was unfair to allow a car whose engine was of so much larger displacement than the others. And it looks as if they may have had a point.
In the interest of safety and performance. And this is the class surprise for just about everybody. Outside is Jim Fitzgerald of Clemens, North Carolina, in a Datsun ZX. Logan Blackburn's Datsun from Indianapolis, Indiana, will start third. Fourth, Ken SLAGLE from Pennsylvania in a Triumph. Fifth is Bob Leitzinger from State College, Pennsylvania, with a Datsun. Starting sixth is the defending national champion, a name you may recognize, Paul Newman of Westport, Connecticut, in Bob Sharp's Datsun. Sharp, who prepared this car, himself a 7-time national champion. Starting seventh, Lee Mueller of Westminster, California, in a semi-factory Triumph TR8. Bruce Cavalli of Petaluma, California, will start in the 8th position. But for the car makers, C Production is the win on Sunday, sell on Monday class. Down for the green flag in C Production. And banging at the start, Fitzgerald and Baker. heading into turn number 1, and that Jaguar is at the head of the field, and hard braking. Car number 85, Logan Blackburn, goes to the head of the field. A former national champion in a smaller engine class. Blackburn has the lead coming out of turn 1 and 2 and up through the S's.
Well, I thought we were going to see a multiple shunt right there at the start.
Baker has the lead back. They've gone by Blackburn coming up out of 2, and into the second position is Jim Fitzgerald. Up through the S's, climbing up to turn number 5. Into the short straightaway, leading to turn number 6, and the battle rages on once again. The Jaguar is in front, but the Datsun of Fitzgerald jumped to the inside going into turn 6. Out of turn number 7, it's the Datsun, as the Jaguar bumps across the ripple strip at the inside of the racetrack.
Well, Fitzgerald is certainly using more than his fair share of road here. I don't know. We'll have to see a replay at the start, but he certainly moved across the track there to try and hold the Jaguar off. The Jaguar having more power here on this long back straightaway.
Baker has gone back in front with this aging Jaguar, and as we saw in D production yesterday, it is another British Dowager Queen race car that has gone to the front of the field against all of the high-buck factory technology.
I'm a British Dowager Queen as well, didn't you?
Down to turn 12. The Jaguar in front of the factory Datsun. Jim Fitzgerald in second. Logan Blackburn is third. Ken Slagle in the Triumph is in the 4th spot, and Paul Newman has moved up to 5th. Hard press battle for the lead, but the Jag holds on coming up out of turn 2.
Well, Jim Fitzgerald's 49. Well, Jim Fitzgerald's 49 years old, but he is really trying hard here today as they turn into the S's around 3, into 4, and Fitzgerald hounding that Jaguar.
You can see the marks on the left side of Baker's car when he and Fitzgerald jammed together at the start.
For which there's no excuse, really. It's a perfectly straight piece of road going down the straight from the flag. I don't quite see how they got into each other at that stage of the game. Into the turn 1 is one thing, but as the flag drops, seems to me to be almost impossible to do.
Well, the Datsun people came here with 6 cars in the top 10, 3 for Triumph, and I think they were all surprised to be bumped off the pole by this old Jag. Third place, Logan Blackburn, who drove an MGB to a national championship in previous years, and moving up is Ken Slagle in the TR8 Triumph, that yellow wedge-shaped machine that's now forged into the second position. Fitzgerald drafting tightly. Slagle takes his line away as they pass beneath the bridge. Baker up front, but the battle is for second right behind him. Coming down to the turn, and Fitzgerald dives in underneath Ken Slagle, and he's got second back.
And takes 85 with him, too. That's Logan Blackburn.
In 4th would be Ken Slagle, and 5th is Newman.
Paul Newman now pressing Ken Slagle very hard there in 5th place.
Lee Mueller has moved up to the 6th spot in his Triumph.
Jaguar Rover Triumph have people down here, of course, who have very much divided loyalties. They want to see the TR8 do well, but obviously if the Jaguar is going to win, it's very good for them, but it's the wrong model.
Well, if that Jaguar wins, they're not going to sell any of those in the showroom on Monday because that car's been out of production for several years.
With all that shifting and shallying around for second place there on the last lap, it's given, in fact, Fred Baker the best lead he's had of the day so far.
The man trying to track him down. Coming out of turn number 7 will be Jim Fitzgerald out of Clemens, North Carolina. Well, Fred Baker will have a repair bill for him today after Fitzgerald planked his Datsun into the side of Baker's car on the start.
Fitzgerald seems to be very fast through these S's. We saw him hounding Slagle through there, and he's still right with Blackburn as they go through those very difficult downhill S's. Around the left-hander at 5, and on down this undulating piece of road up to turn 6. Paul Newman now very close behind Jim Fitzgerald as they go round turn 6.
3 very evenly matched Datsuns running 3, 4, and 5. There's the Jaguar, the leader of Fred Baker. Ken Slagle in the Triumph Roadster, and Blackburn hangs it all out coming out of turn 7. That turn is one key to a fast lap here at Road Atlanta because it leads to the longest straightaway. And if you come out of there quickly, you're going to get down that straight in a hurry.
You are absolutely right. It is essential to come onto the straight at the best speed possible. And there is Paul Newman.
Newman gets underneath Fitzgerald and puts him to the outside of the racetrack, and the defending national champion is on the ramble. All blue eyes, Paul Newman. Moving past Fitzgerald, whose car has gotten very darty.
Fitzgerald's tires may have started to go off. He was driving a pretty exuberant style at the beginning of this race, and he may have overheated his tires and be paying the price for it now.
Ken Slagle, that yellow wedge-shaped roadster. The Triumph is second. Blackburn is third. Paul Newman picking up one position, coming to the fourth spot, ahead of Jim Fitzgerald.
The Jaguar seems to be picking up about a second a lap. There we see it now, something nearly 4 seconds ahead of Ken Slagle in the yellow TR8, followed by Logan Blackburn, who's dropped back a bit from the TR, and Paul Newman, who again is being pressed down through these S's by Jim Fitzgerald. This definitely seems to be the place where Fitzgerald is best.
Second and third shapes up as a battle. The Triumph Roadster, low-slung machine, excellent aerodynamics for Ken Slagle against the Datsun Coupe, and way out in front and pulling away is Fred Baker. But here's the race for second, and Blackburn every time at turn 7 has let that car hang way out as he looks over the back of Ken Slagle's Triumph Roadster.
Logan Blackburn must have set his car up very differently to the other Datsuns, because we don't see them behaving in the same way down there at corner 7. It may be just the way he likes to drive. Perhaps he likes to hang the tail out and finds he goes faster that way than the others. But the other two cars, Fitzgerald and Newman, don't seem to be having that same sort of trouble at all.
Ken Slagle and Logan Blackburn, second and third in C production. They're going into turn 1, way out. Oh! Slagle hits the tire wall. Was flying up in the air.
Hits it very, very hard.
Logan Blackburn and Ken Slagle came together, and Slagle's car sits broadside on the racetrack as the caution flag waves from corner number 12. The runner-up in C production climbs out of his car. He is unhurt after a wild ride up and over the tire wall.
What a violent crash here at the last corner on this track.
Coming around to complete the 8th lap, Ken Slagle was running in 8th position. Let's take a look at again what knocked him out of the race.
Logan Blackburn making up ground run through turn 12. Goes to pass the car, I think misjudges it, and just tags the right rear corner of the TR8 and sends him straight into the tyre and Armco barrier right under the start-finish line.
Those old tires are placed there to help absorb the impact, and sending those flying instead of hitting a concrete or steel wall probably saved Ken Slagle from injury and certainly saved his car from being totally destructive.